I'm really honored tonight to have with us Shaun Rice. Shaun, thanks for joining us.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on here, Coach. It's been
And
too long.
we've got Ohio Wesleyan head coach Tyler Mott and Scott Tedder on with us tonight. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit to Shaun here beforehand, but I think our audience and that would probably like to know a little bit about Shaun before he got to Ohio Wesleyan. So, Shaun, we're going to give it to you, turn it over for a few minutes. We're going to want to have you tell us a little bit about where you grew up, where you played your ball at, what sports you played in high school, and how you eventually ended up at Ohio Wesleyan.
I grew up in Central Ohio, and I was in Worthington to begin in the elementary schools, and we moved across town over into Dublin, and I played for the Dublin middle schools, or Davis Middle School, and really enjoyed sports. I was really into sports growing up: football, basketball, baseball, and then my sister ended up making the move to Watterson High School, private high school. And, I was raised Catholic. And at the time, Dublin was building the new high school, which would be Scioto. And we were just unsure of a lot of things. And, I don't even know what made the final decision. I just said, you know what, I'll give Watterson a try. I met a couple of guys that played ball there. They're a couple years older than me. And when I got there, it was awesome. It's just a great fellowship, very, school oriented, very student oriented, but then the athletic side, they were great at football. They're just a known powerhouse. They had a great baseball team, but not the greatest facilities. And that didn't matter. We just had great coaches and great people. So after my freshman year, I really enjoyed it. I had some just lifelong friendships that still have today. A couple of these guys moved in. We had Simba Hodari that moved in from Worthington. Todd Holcomb's another guy. He's still coaching now. He went back to Watterson. He's actually coaching. But Todd was a big Worthington athlete. And so these guys came. They just made the program that much better. High school was awesome. Year after year, we're going for that state. And we had a lot of talent, a lot of good teams. And we were just falling a little shy. And it came down to, baseball season senior year. We were really good in football. I signed to play football at Bowling Green State University. And still needed that state championship. Scioto won the football state championship the year before. I moved out of that territory, and I'm like, all right, we really got to pull this off. We got one chance left. And we just, dedicated everything to that and somehow made it happen. We had the belief, we had the athletes' motivation, everything you need, and senior leadership, and we brought home the title. So I ended up having a great senior year, and really had baseball in my mind now. And, coaches would call Coach Manahan, and he would say he's already signed to play football and, things like that. Played summer ball for the Hilliard Legion teams, another strong team, coached by Bruce Heine, his son, Doug, who was one of my good friends growing up. And Doug played for Ohio Wesleyan. And it was just, I just kept thinking baseball, but I've got to go play football now. And I love football. And I was intense, and I loved to hit. And, I don't know how many concussions I had diagnosed, but I probably had several to begin with. And played football up at Bowling Green, and talking to Coach Blackney at the time, it was, yeah, come on up. You could play football and baseball. Let's do both sports. And so we didn't have a great football season that freshman year, went 3-8. And during the winter, I did both sports throughout the winter. So I'd go from football practice for a few hours to baseball practice for a few hours, studies on top of that. So it was hard work. And just before the baseball team went on their spring trip, I was told I had to play spring football. I had to honor all my football activities before I could do baseball. And so that took the spring trip away and a lot of these games, and ended up redshirting my freshman year and, kind of making a deal that, hey, we'll take a look at this sophomore year. I went there assuming I could play both, but then I learned it's a lot more complicated than that when you're talking the scholarships and what they need from each player and the dedication to that sport. So, it was rough, but I understood it. Sophomore year came, a little better football season, but not great. I hurt my shoulder on a kickoff. I was the kamikaze guy running down the field and blew it out against Miami, Ohio, about the 6th game of the year. It was just out several weeks. So then, after the season, when I went into his office, was talking baseball again. He didn't really want to hear that. I was just coming off injury and all this, and I had to make a decision at that point, and I decided let's go to baseball. Talk to the coach, and I played for Bowling Green for a couple of years, and really enjoyed playing college baseball. A lot colder up there, a lot windier, but really, I just felt like I had a lot to give to the sport, and with as much time as I invested growing up, and all these summer teams and the Hilliard Legion team and all these things going on. So I really wanted to go that baseball route. Things didn't quite work out at Bowling Green with just playing and switching from the sport and position wise. But I was playing on the college wooden bat league team, the Delaware Cows. It just so happened that the Cows played Ohio Wesleyan, our home field. And so again, the Cows were coached by Bruce Heine, and I started seeing this Coach Ingles at all these games, and he'd come around the facilities, and Doug and some of these other players. We had like 3 or 4 other Ohio Wesleyan or some of those players on the team, and then we had guys from all D1 schools everywhere. So it didn't take long for me on this team to realize that we got D1 talent, we got Ohio Wesleyan players, and a lot of the same type of talent. There wasn't much of a difference. We had, Jason Bogenreif and Doug Heine, of course, and Paul Lashik, and some guys that were just great skills. And I'm not seeing that big of a difference. And then it just happened. Joe's Loudenslager actually started at Bowling Green, and he transferred back the year before. And so he's in my ear saying, "You love it here. You love it here." And then, it was just a lot of love from the family. I'm from Central Ohio. I'm thinking I've got 2 seasons left. What am I going to do? I could play close to home and have a lot of family at the games, or I had a good relationship with Northern Iowa. I had a flight set, and it was about a day before I was going to jump on this flight. And Mom, Dad, what if I just stay home and just play ball around here? And they backed me right away. Doug was floored, Loudenslager. We're Bogenreif, Caravella, all these guys, and it didn't take long. We just started this camaraderie, this love, this intense motivation to just get better and work. I've had this intensity. It was just from my uncles, my grandfather, my dad, growing up, and then when I came to Ohio Wesleyan, I see Bogenreif the way he would work out, and then Caravella, how long he'd spend on the tee, Loudenslager, and all these guys. And I just knew I made the right decision. And Ohio Wesleyan was just one of the greatest blessings of my life. I had a great time and loved playing for Coach Ingles. Looking back, my only regret is maybe not stealing third base enough, because I hit too many doubles.
Yeah. Well, Shaun, I gotta tell you that you were always one of my favorite players, and I think a lot of it was because of that intensity. But one of the other things that I really admired about you was your family. You have an incredible family, and your brother Nick, good friends with Kyle. I know you guys are all good friends with Kyle Sherman and that, but those two are extremely close. And Nick came in, had a great career in football, but we even got him to play baseball for a year.
Oh yeah.
wrestling, and I told him he'd just come in and steal bases, and he did that for a year. But tell us a little bit about your family.
I got my 3-year-old just snuck in the room down here. Trick or treat.
Bring him up.
Coming up. Come here, real quick. Say hi to the guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, y'all.
He's a dude with surfer hair.
All right.
Ryder. Family, huge family, and just lucky that most of even my extended family is in Central Ohio. I am one of 7, and I have an older sister, Shannon, who's the one that went to Watterson and led me there, and then me, and then there's Jeff, Nick, Jason, Taylor, and then our baby Lindsay, and just 5 boys squeezed between 2 girls on the bookends, and the girls were as girly as you could be. They just unfortunately we lost my sister Lindsay in our car accident when she was 15. It was just it's the faith in our family, and as close as we all were, pulled everybody through it, and we know that she's there. We know that she's around and still with us. But my mom and dad were just, they raised us right. They raised us. We didn't have the biggest home or the most material items out there, but they always provided what we needed and found a way to raise these 7 kids and do it with faith and just the skills that they instilled in my head. And my mom was one of 8 kids, big Catholic family. She's right about in the middle of 8 kids. And mostly girls. They had 6 girls and 2 guys. So my 2 uncles were big football guys, and my grandfather coached football for 40 plus years. And this was, football was all around me growing up. And then, my one uncle was really into baseball and got me really liking baseball. But family is just, to our family, we have all kinds of the family traditions, the Sunday family dinners growing up. And to this day, we still meet up just about every Sunday. Not everybody makes it, but we still get together quite a bit. But yeah, I just, it's one of those families where they've got my back. They've showed the support that a kid would need. Yeah. And I love them for it. Appreciate them. I live right.
Yeah, I got to tell you that your parents were awesome, but I love the fact your dad was a singer. In fact, I asked him to come down and perform for my mother-in-law's 90th birthday at her church. I'm not sure that church will ever be the same, but for those that don't know, Shaun's dad, not only did he sing in a rock band and stuff and was awesome, performed with Gene Castelli for a long time. It was the head of food service there at Ohio Westland and their band. Yep. But he also did a pretty darn good Elvis impersonation, and that's what he did for her birthday, and it was the best thing. I still have videos of it. I mean, it was incredible. But a great performer. He performed at halftime at a football game when I was the AD there and things, and just incredible. But Shaun, before we move on, I'll let these other guys ask some questions. I want you to talk a little bit about your high school coach, Coach Manahan, because pretty good high school coach. You had some pretty good, preparation before you ever came to us. We didn't have to do much with you, but tell us a little bit about Coach Scott.
Yep, Coach Manahan, one of the all-time greats. I remember my first football workout out at Watterson. Coming in as a freshman right after the summer. Baseball had just ended, and it's hot. We're running the dusty dirt ground outfield of the baseball field that was also shared with the football team. And Manahan's coaching football, and he's out there. He's the biggest man I'd ever seen to that point in my life, and just a big guy. And he's walking around, and he looks at me. He's like, Rice. He goes like this. He probably doesn't remember that, Coach. I don't know, but he looked at me. I think we were running sprints at the time, and I'm dying. And he puts up, "You play this. This is what we got to get to here." got to get the baseball. That was my first memory of Coach Manahan. And then I'll tell you, he's got that bass in the voice. He's got that old school style where he sets that expectation bar high. And being at a school like Watterson with that discipline already instilled in us, it works, and it worked. All I needed, and some of the boys on the team were someone like a coach like that to really push us, and to hit the expectation. Not to mention the teams that played in front of us, who winning the state back then was everything. There was always a goal. We want to win the state. Watterson won in 88, 91. Coach Manning came in a few years after that, and he'd hear it a lot in his ear. Come on, when are you guys going to win the state? So it's just something he put a program together like no other in high school. At the time, we pitchers and catchers first thing in the morning. At 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're doing the pitching and catching workouts, and then practice after school with the team. He was just a great facilitator of the game. Had every hitting, concept, and gave us the drills, and similar to you, Coach. He gave us the right drills and the right techniques to work on, and then we kind of individualized from there and did our every swing's different, but we had the resources and the instruction to get us there. Manahan was just. Coach was just he'd call you out. He'd call you out if you're dogging it. He'd call you. I never want to be called out. And so when I got to be one of these upperclassmen, I started calling the people out too. And just became more of a leader that way. And a lot of it just from Coach Manahan. Coach Golden in football was also a big mentor in that aspect and of leadership. And I give a lot of credit to those two, and especially Coach Manahan. He's one of those coaches that spent a lot of time in his coaching office. Once you kind of earned it and you became one of his guys, now the office door is open, and we'd have some great talks before the games, just getting the mind right. And he just was good at making you feel at ease, but helping you fire up too. And if he's watching this, he's going to laugh, but he told me, before my class, before my year, baseball players didn't really work out much in the weight room. Just wasn't done much. They do a lot of the arm things and quick workouts, like real quick workouts. And I'm still trying to get a scholarship any way I can. I need to put on some muscle, Coach. And so I started going and lifting with the football team during baseball workouts, or after baseball workouts, but doubling it up. And he'd catch me in there, and he'd get so mad. He'd just kicking me out of the weight room. And after the third time, fourth time he caught me, he's like, "That's it. Go ahead. You work out. Go ahead. Bench 100 freaking reps, Go ahead." He's like, "But I'll tell you what, you're the guinea pig. And we'll see what happens, how you play this season. It's all on you. If you have a year, then we're not lifting a weight ever again." And so, Coach, you said it. You remember.
Yeah.
And Coach Manahan. And, we ended up winning the state that year. So I said, "Coach, you better get that workout ready to go for the team next year."
Oh, that's
Those
great.
boys in the weight room.
That's great.
But yeah, that's Coach Manahan. I love him to this day. He doesn't want to be. He told me we had a golf outing, an alumni golf outing, a couple weeks ago, and it was just a great event. Saw him there. He's looking healthier than ever. Big guy, but he's looking in shape, and I think he's about ready to start playing golf. He's got a new hip in there, and he's walking around nice. So I think he's starting to pick up the game.
Shaun, I got a question for you. Going back, as you know, I played basketball and baseball and probably went through the same situation you did. And I mentioned before that, I really wanted to go to Ohio University. But when I talked to Danny Nee, he didn't want me to play two sports. He wanted me to focus on basketball. And I really wanted to play two sports, obviously basketball and baseball. But obviously it didn't end the way that I wanted, and ended up at Ohio Wesleyan. Obviously it was the right thing to do. It was a great thing, the best 4 years of my life. So I guess the situation has switched in your situation when you went to Bowling Green to play two sports. But my experience was not very good, and I hope yours was a lot better than mine. But like I said, I'm glad I went to Ohio Wesleyan for 4 years and played both sports. But back in '88, they really didn't want people to play two sports. So what was your feeling on that, playing two sports at a Division I school?
The feeling itself was great. And, you know, a lot of my teammates on football and baseball acknowledged all the work I was doing. And it's just, you know, I just didn't have the mind that I have now to be able to communicate with the coaches like I would have liked to. And so I couldn't think of the right things to say. And you know, I think if I had the mind I had now, that I probably could have talked my way into actually staying there and playing both sports. But, you know, then what happens to the rest? I love my time at Ohio Wesleyan. So it's, you know, things happen. We always say that. But it's just more of the communication, I'd say, on my part was I just couldn't get it through, you know, either side to make it make sense to them. In my head, I have the energy and I've got the will, and I'm ready to go on both of these. And it was just, you know, it was disheartening after that my freshman season, having to redshirt a year, just to take that whole year off baseball. In baseball years, that's like 5 years. I remember picking up the bat and getting back into it, and it was tough, but, you know, it came back. Thankfully, it came back. But you know, I had a lot of great experiences. Again, great friendships that I still have today. But when I look back at what football could have been and what baseball could have been if I just, you know, played that, who knows? It's a tough question, Scott. You know, it didn't work out, like you said, the way I wanted or the way I planned. And a lot of it was miscommunication, or maybe I heard something differently than what was said. Or maybe it was just, you know, the hot seat, having a couple bad football seasons at the same time. And then the coaches getting strict and, hey, we don't have that. You don't have that leniency here. We got to stay focused on this, and you got to get your football things done. And, you know, as a kid, and I'm up there. You feel like you're so far away when you're in college. I'm a couple hours away, you know, phone call away, but I just felt like I'm out there on the island. And, you know, when I came home over winter break and talked to my family about it, they've got my back. Either decision I wanted to make, you know, stay with football, keep a scholarship, but I ended up giving up the football scholarship to be able to play baseball full time. And, you know, I don't know why that didn't work out. It was, I just feel like I guess I had somewhere better to play, Coach.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Tyler, what was it like being around this guy?
Oh man, I don't think we have enough time, but you know, as you guys are talking, the memories are starting to come back. And Shaun, I'm so glad I get a chance to connect with you here, because there's a lot of things I want to tell you. Just looking back and you know, being wiser now, and now that it's been a couple of years since we've been out, but like, man, you know, if you give me one, you know, if Coach asked me, Shaun Rice, if I got to define you in like 1 or 2 words, like the only thing that comes, or the first thing that comes to mind is just like grown man. You know, you know, I was a few years behind you in school, and I don't think we ever talked about this, but you know, you mentioned Legion, playing for Hilliard Legion, and how good those teams were. You know, I was just down the road at Grove City playing Legion, and that I was a few years behind you, and I was younger, but you know, we always had some good teams too. You know, we probably think we only lost to you guys, but we never made it to states because you guys would always beat us. But we probably won 40 or 50 games most summers. We could never beat you. And I remember just, seeing guys like you on the team and just like, how much I needed to get better. Like if I almost, after playing you guys and knowing who you were before you knew me, like I looked up to you and guys on that team, and you really set the bar, for what I wanted to accomplish, and it didn't take long. And I'm so glad our paths crossed when we got to Woo. You and I came in at the same time, and I don't even think I knew. I was telling the story a couple weeks ago. Cell phones weren't around, social media, so I knew Mike Myers. He and I were the same year, and I knew he was a good pitcher, and I wanted to be a part of that. But that's about it. That's about the only guy I knew. And then Clint Gibney, who was from my high school. That was it. So we hadn't had the first team meeting yet. It's the first day of class, I think. And you remember back in the day, like we just after class we'd go to the field, right, and hang out for 3 or 4 hours, play catch, then you'd hit a little bit, and that was it. But I'll never forget the first day showing up, and there wasn't that many people out there yet. And I remember seeing this guy running wind sprints out in left field. It's the summer, it's late August. He's wearing nothing but sliding shorts. And it was one of the guys on this call right now. But
special day because he had the sliding shorts on, because there might have been out there in the less.
Yeah. But
I guarantee it wasn't me.
Yeah. But you know what? Like that was the intensity that I learned from you, man. Like watching you, like that stuff I'd never seen before. Like I'd never seen that level of intensity that you took it to. And it started that first day. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? He's 30 pounds heavier than me. He's got 5% body fat probably. I'm like, man, if this guy's on our team, number one, I'm glad he's on our team. But number two, I got a long way to go, if I'm to see the field. But just that intensity you brought in the weight room, how you lift in the weight room, it was just different. You were different in a good way. And I want to thank you for that. I mean, it was awesome to be to be your teammate. I don't think I ever remember pitching, hearing an outfielder talk to me while I'm pitching before, and it was awesome. I mean, I'd hear team out, let's go. If I made a bad pitch or give up a bomb or walk somebody, I'd hear let's go, from center field. And you were a great teammate, and man, you just really set the bar for the work ethic that we needed to have. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for that.
Ty, I'll tell you what, I appreciate it, but I'm glad it rubbed off on you. I mean, I would compare myself to people that I played against growing up. I always want to know who the players were on the field, and it doesn't take long to glance around and see who the players are. And I'm always comparing growing up, and I always felt like I'm not as good as them, and that helped push me to get better. And it's you as a teammate. Just you came in, you're ready to adapt. You're ready to say, "This is how we're going to play." Just a strong third baseman. I could always count on a good glove, and then just starts taking the pitching mound. And my God, that pitching staff. But I just remember you as a straight competitor. Nobody's gonna make you piss down your leg. Like you, just ready to go day in and day out. And somebody I could count on as a teammate. Somebody who is ready to just ball out, lay it on the line, crossing the white lines. Anybody else out there is the enemy. And I love that about just being this our team was so connected. Like you said, I almost didn't graduate, I think, because I would skip statistics junior, senior year, senior year, I think it was, to go to the ball field, hours before the game. So who wants to be in a rush their senior season? We go there and hours early and just get loose, hang out. You guys were my brothers, and and that's how we acted on their. I don't remember having the quarrels with each other or anything. It was just we all just we're ready to bleed for each other, really. And,
Don't feel bad about skipping those classes. I did that too.
I'll tell you,
Tyler told me,
I might have to take a summer school class to make that up, but it was worth it.
I did too.
hey,
I
I
did
think
too.
Tyler told me college would be great if it wasn't for the classes. So that was when he was a player, not now as a coach. But
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sean, I got a few things I want to talk about with you or about you, and I'd like to get your thoughts on a couple of them. But one of them is Tyler mentioned it. I mean, you were a physical specimen. I mean, you were the guy that when we got someplace, you were the first guy I wanted off the van or off the bus. You know, that's the guy we want to walk out there. And you had incredible speed. That obviously was a big factor for you in football. You had strength. You had a great arm. And the arm kind of comes into a story here as we're getting ready to play a big, big series with Wittenberg one year. And I think it was a 4-game series, and we had played on Saturday, I believe. And then Sunday we're getting ready to go out. And before we go out, you looked at me and you said, Coach, I'm going to do something special today. And I was worried because I didn't always know what your special meant, right? And I'll get into some other stories here in a little bit. We go out to take infield, and, you know, we always do twice the second. They're outfielders. We do twice the third, and then we're getting ready to go home. And, you know, I back up to the plate, and I look out, and your butt's clear up against the outfield fence. And I thought, what the heck's going on here? You know, normally we have you guys about midway and kind of show the arm off a little bit. And so I hit a ball, you know, about all I could do to get it out to you, and it kind of one hops. You come in, field the ball, and throw a rocket over the backstop, across the street, and into the parking lot on the other side. And I'm watching this ball in flight thinking, oh, crap, right? He's going to hit somebody's grandma. First of all, I'm amazed when I see this ball go across, you know, across the backstop, across the street. But then I look over to the Wittenberg dugout, and every jaw over there is like hanging on the ground. And I'm like, holy cow. And I knew at that moment, that doubleheader was done. They were done. You intimidated. I've never seen anybody intimidate a team like you did on one throw from the outfield. Tell me about that time.
You said Wittenberg, obviously one of the biggest rivals. They had a killer squad themselves, and they came to our house. And I knew we had to beat this team twice on you know, to win the league. It came down to the wire, and you know, it was one of those days where I got to the ballpark early, skip statistics, and the arm just felt real good. And you know, you have those days where it just feels like it's ready to go. And I don't even know how it came into my head. I want to do something to just motivate a little bit. Not that our guys were even tight. You know, we're a loose team. As intense as we were good about being loose and doing our job. But just something a little extra that I could just to help motivate. So I remember, am I gonna tell coach? What am I gonna do here? I got to do something. It popped in my head that I was just gonna throw the ball as far as I freaking could. And so it was right before we broke. You know, we got our hands in there. We always did the whoop. And I just looked at coach. I was right next to him. Like, hey, I'm gonna do something a little special here. And he's like, he gave me that look like,
Oh, crap.
You know, he didn't say, what are you gonna do? Don't do it. He gave me that look like, okay. And you know, the only person I told, we were warming up after my throw to second or third, and I said, Joey, he's playing right field, I'm in center. I said, I'm gonna throw this suicide ball over the backstop. I'm gonna throw it out of the ball field. He's like, are you really? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, just so you're my witness, I don't want anybody talking stuff about me being too close to the infield. So you're going to be my one. I'm backing all the way up to the warning track here. And so I did. And, you know, it was just, I had a live arm that day. And when I released it, it was probably right about a 45, 47 degree angle. I just remember watching coach with his bats on his shoulder, and he's just.
Exactly.
And
What was
yeah,
Coach
I was
Myers?
hoping I,
What was Coach Myers' reaction?
Geesh, geesh, geesh. He didn't quite know what was going on, but after he kind of figured it out, and then I can remember him telling me about the second inning of the game. He goes, I think that throw intimidated those boys over there. Well, Shaun, the other thing about you, you were extremely tough. I mean, you were tough. But one of the things probably not a lot of people know about you is you had some shoulder issues. And that shoulder would pop out a lot. And I can remember times where you'd be over at first base, getting a lead, getting ready to steal, and you'd dive back in, and that shoulder would pop out. And the thing would be hanging halfway down your side. And I'd look over, and you would just pop that thing back in. Incredible. And then go play. I mean,
when it comes out enough times, it's just, I don't know if it goes numb. The first few times it pops out, it's tight. You can't get it back in, but it had, it was just so loose that I'd be, get in there. And that was unfortunate. They had to deal with that darn shoulder. And you've watched football today. These kamikaze guys aren't told to run 100 miles an hour, blow up the wall like we were used to. They break down, they contain, and do all these things. So that's unfortunate. That shoulder.
Yeah.
It's a touchy subject, but to this day, I finally got the bone fixed. So the head of the humerus is now, we got a cadaver bone in there. So I tell my wife, hey, I can't help this arm at times. It's got a mind of its own. But it doesn't slip out now. So the shoulder, I'm blessed, full range of motion. I'm still working out. I'm not limited. So I'm really fortunate in that regard.
All right, so we're down in Florida. First, let me preface this by saying in the fall, Tyler, you probably remember this, is in the fall, we'd be playing inter-squad, and to speed things up, if somebody hit one out of the park, we always just told the runners just go straight to the dugout and tell the hitter just hit first and go get the ball, right? I mean, we did that in the fall all the time. So we're down in Florida, got a ground ball in the infield. Shaun hits ground ball in the infield. He's flying 100 miles an hour like crazy, and he and the first baseman hit. First baseman goes flying, ball goes flying. They get up, Shaun's safe, right? I walk over, Shaun, you okay? Fine. Shaun, you okay? Because it was a collision. Yeah, I'm fine. So Drew comes up, and Drew hits a bomb, right? So I'm coaching third. Shaun comes to third base. I kind of shake his hand, pat him on, and look around to get Drew, and all of a sudden I hear guys laughing and everything. And Shaun, do you remember you just went straight to the dugout?
Oh, yeah.
He had gotten knocked silly, wouldn't tell anybody, kept playing, and I think it knocked him all the way back to fall ball because he just thought we were back to fall ball.
I ran at third base and went straight to the dugout.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there. It took a minute for people to realize I didn't touch the plate. And I remember my dad coming up behind the dugout. You okay? Everything all right? Yeah. What's up? What do you mean? He's like, you didn't touch home plate. I'm like, oh my God. Called me out, home run. So,
Yeah.
took a home run away.
That's all right.
That was the inning.
Toughness. That was your toughness.
Sorry, Drew.
That's
DC.
right.
I still owe you one.
And then later we were playing at home against Heidelberg. You remember this game? Collision at the plate. We were playing Heidelberg when they were pretty good. You came around, took out their catcher.
Oh yeah.
We had a big old-fashioned Donnybrook there.
Head first, shoulder first.
Yeah.
That was the football instinct coming out.
Yeah.
I gotta get to the plate, and if you're gonna block it, then this train's coming through.
Well, I'm saying these stories because that's the style of player you were. You played 110%. My favorite player growing up was Pete Rose, and that's how he played. And I always admired that in you because just what you said, if the guy's going to block the plate, you better be ready for the train coming through. And you brought the train that day. I'll never forget. That was quite the thing. Drew wanted me to ask you a question. All right. And he wanted wanted to know if you would share with everybody your senior year. You got selected to go out and participate in a home run derby out at the Division One World Series. Tell us
Yeah.
about that experience and what that was like.
That was such a bittersweet time. Great time. And, you know, when I got selected, they said you could take a BP pitcher with you. And that was one of the toughest decisions. It was because Coach Ingles is one of the best batting practice pitchers of all time. I mean, I love taking BP off Coach Ingles. But then I had, you know, Bruce Heine, who coached me for so many years in the summer, and just had some tough times himself. But he was on the Ohio State National Championship baseball team, and what was it, Coach? 62,
I think it's
64?
mid-60s. Yeah, mid-60s, I think. Yeah.
And he played out at Rosenblatt Stadium, and so I'm just thinking, this is what an opportunity to just say thank you for, you know, he took me in several summers, and I pretty much live with them as we go to these, you know, playing the Hilliard Legion team, and then he coached the Delaware Cows with me. Another reason I made the transfer was the Heine family. And so anyhow, I ended up taking Bruce Heine, Coach Heine, and, you know, Coach Ingles, I really wanted to take you too. Really did. But I just felt deep down, okay, this is the right decision. Let's take Coach. Well, we get out there, and, you know, that actually, you know, I was selected, and I knew I had a good month or so to train and just to get the swing down. And I had a buddy, Doug DeVore, who was from Dublin, played at Indiana, and then went professional, played for the Diamondbacks. And he's still in professional ball, and he sends me a box of some, you know, pro wood. And when you play in the wooden bat league, it's always like, what kind of wood you got? You got that pro stuff, you know, it's just harder wood. And so he sent me some nice bats, some nice Louisvilles, and some different players from his team. And I really liked swinging. I love the bat speed I was getting from the C271. And then, you know, Griffey Jr. was always, you know, like looking up to Griffey and his smooth swing, and that's what he used. I started using this bat that Doug sent me and really liked it. We get out to the home run derby, and sponsored by Rawlings, and they dumped out all these bats and said, pick your bat. You got to use one of these, or you can use an aluminum bat. And my thing was, I hadn't been drafted yet. It was after the draft. Thinking I would be drafted, and, you know, and whatever happened, my name wasn't called. So I'm trying to still show these guys I can hit, and decided I'm going to swing wood. Well, there's eight players there. They all swung aluminum. There's 7 righties and 1 lefty. And then the lefties, the wind was blowing straight out, right center field. The lefty swung with the wood. I was the only righty to stick with the wood. And they kept asking me, and the people there kept asking me, you're not going to swing aluminum? I'm like, it goes just as far if you hit it on the right spot. And also, what do these scouts want to see here? They want to see that I can hit with wood. So I did all my batting practice with wood, and we took batting practice the day before, flew out a day early, and I was just, you know, one of those days, just lighting it up, Coach. Drew, I was sending these balls over the fence just like I had it practicing at Dublin Kaufman High School for a month and a half, and felt great. I packed it in. I'm like, I'm ready to go. And that's using the Rawlings wood. I found one that, you know, was pretty similar and liked it. We get there next day, and the wind, like I said, was blowing even harder out to right field. That might have swayed some of those other righties' minds. Like, I'm going to use aluminum. Some of them were swinging wood the day before, but I stuck with the wood. And, you know, it was just, when it came my turn, I was smashing balls. And Bruce, you know, he wanted to just throw the perfect pitches that, you know, he started throwing them a little too hot in there, thinking if I throw it faster, then it'll leave the ballpark faster. And, I'm trying to settle him down a little bit. He just wanted to be so good. And I had some great swings. I'll tell you what, if it was a year before, I would have been in the championship round because they had just built the fence. It was like a 4-foot fence. They doubled it as an 8-foot fence or something, and they backed it up 5 feet. I had 2 balls off the wall. I had one that I hit just fouled the left foul pole out of the whole ballpark, just left the stadium. None of them count. If you hit one with the wood bat, there's also an incentive. You get 3 points instead of 1. So had just one of those made it, I'd have been in, the next round. So those didn't hit. I was hitting, line drives, and I had Bruce up there all worried. You want to try going backside? And I'm like, I try to take a couple out backside, but they were just liners in the gap. So I didn't hit any over the fence in the round. Huge bummer, but just being there with these other D1 guys and just the day before showing them that what I could do that made the experience just that day before, because it was such a great round. And of course, just the meeting those guys out there. Then it was after the Derby. We stayed for another couple days and we watched the ball games. Met a couple good friends that were Bubba Lavender over in Central Ohio. Played at Hartley. He was out there, and his batting practice pitcher, a couple other guys, and we bonded out there and had a good time. The whole experience was great. I remember walking off, not hitting any balls out, and first guy I see is my dad standing in the stands, and he just gave me one of these. I'm just thinking, I'm like, what? I can't believe none of those left. It was a huge letdown, but great experience. Great time. It was the way they had it set up with our chairs on the field. It was a lot like watching. So I watch these major league home run derbies. I'm like, look at these guys taking their breaks. I felt like I had to go out there and not take one break. Bruce, throw the next one. And I wish I would have taken my time. Laid off a couple pitches. I was swinging at just about every pitch he threw. It just didn't happen. But
Hey,
DC is a good time.
What an experience, Shaun, to get a chance to go out there and
Was,
I mean, how many guys from Ohio Westland have ever got invited to the home run derby? One. I mean, you're it. You're the only guy that ever got to go. And Scott would have loved to have went, and I guarantee, Drew and Tyler and other guys would love to have gone, but what an amazing experience. And that's a tribute to you and obviously the career you had for us. So I'm going to try and go through our lightning round here a little bit. I'm going to, Shaun, we're going to start with you, and then we'll go to Scott, and then we'll go to Tyler.
There we go.
I'm going to throw out a word or a phrase, some short phrase, and you got to tell me in 1 to 3 seconds the first thing that comes in your mind when I say that. Okay. So,
okay.
All right. So we're going to start out here. Okay. First thing, teammates.
Brothers.
Camaraderie.
Best friends.
Winter practice.
Loved it.
No dugouts and great preparation for the spring.
Was the question winter practice?
Winter practice.
90s.
What'd you
Yes.
say?
The 90s, the conditioning that we did. Scott never had a winter practice. He was always out there playing that other sport.
Yeah, I know.
His winter practice was dugouts. That's about when he came out, joined us. Right?
Hey, and speaking of 90s, I just thought of this. Shaun Rice would lap us.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure we had 90 seconds to run 2 laps. Shaun, coach knows this, but you'll be proud to know that we carry on that tradition every winter. But we get 90 seconds to run 2 laps. Since Scott sounds like never got to participate, and Shaun would probably lap maybe just about everybody on the team.
Yeah, he could fly. Okay. Ohio Westland education.
Jay Martin. One of the best professors right there.
Took longer than I expected.
Alumni connections.
Favorite college football team?
I gotta go with the Bucks.
Buckeyes.
Bucks.
Favorite NFL team?
This has changed in the last 5-10 years after meeting my wife to go with the Cleveland Browns.
Oh man.
Browns too for me.
Who Day?
Ryan Shell's not going to like that, but when you marry a girl from Cleveland, or her whole family's from Cleveland, been about 30 Browns games and 2 Bengals games.
She's got good
Sway,
taste.
man. That'll sway him, man.
World Series champs in 2020.
Wow.
I'd hate to say the Yankees. I think I got to.
I got to say the Yankees too with Garrett Cole.
I gotta say Braves after watching what they just did to my beloved Redlegs.
And I asked this is a one that we normally ask. All right, Coach Meyer.
Coach, you got me shook on this one. Just the love he had for the game and the players is just, I'll never forget. The love he showed me the first day I walked onto the team, like, he was just like the Grandpa Meyer.
I agree, and I always say legend and amazing how he predicted things that would happen before it happened.
Oh yeah,
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, before you were there, Shaun, we had Scott Walbury, and we had him on earlier, and he was probably like 5'4", 150 pounds. And coach would say, yeah, he's going to hit one out this pitch. And I'm like, yeah, okay, coach. Next pitch, boom, home run. I'm like, how'd you know that, coach? He goes, I know. But that's just the way he was. He said, I knew. I knew.
Tyler?
Just dropping nuggets of wisdom, like every time I was around him. And Shaun and I probably feel cheated because I think we only got 1 year with him, right? One or two maybe. But yeah, I mean, just simple things that he taught me in just my short time with him. I think it was either the fall of my freshman year or maybe the spring. It might have been like my first start or my first appearance on the mound in college. And I'll never forget, he just told me, I never knew how to warm up. I'd never been taught. And it was like 30 minutes before the game, and it was hot out. And I remember him just telling me, like, Tyler, once you go, don't just stand out in the sun. Like, go sit in the dugout and sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes, drink a cup of water. And I'll never forget that. Like, that's something I learned when I was 18 or 19, and that became my routine. Something simple as that.
All right, Shaun, favorite food?
Steak.
Pizza.
Yeah, I'll say pizza.
La Paz pizza after West End.
Okay, we're adult show tonight. Favorite beer? Favorite beer?
Like an IPA.
Yeah.
Not too picky there.
Coors Light.
Miller Lite.
Favorite teammate?
Wow.
Favorite teammate. I'm not sure I can answer that one.
Let me change the question.
That's tough.
Change that up.
Let me change the question. On Monday morning, teammate you were most worried about from the weekend?
They were probably worried about me. I don't know.
That's my vote. Sorry, John.
The deepest connection I had with the player was Sir Douglas Heine. Just one of my good brothers. But, there's that whole team. I just felt like we were all connected. Love Joey Loudslayer. Just coming from Bowling Green and having that connection before we even came to school. We're breaking up the lightning round, but Coach, that's a tough question, man.
Yeah.
Too many good brothers.
Yeah.
Joey, Drew.
I'll give you a double answer. Probably after the weekend, I worried about Scott Hall because he took it so serious. And, if he played well, he was good. If he played bad, then we had to take care of him. But on the weekends, it was definitely John Nye and Seth Duckworth, because we can't say it on the show, but Ducky and Nye were hilarious after the games.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I gotta say you, Shaun, and I say, I'm not just saying it because you're on the show, but just most memorable teammate. Just would hold you accountable. I love that about you, and with just how hard you played in your concussion history. That's why I got to say you. I'd worry about you. Getting through 4 games on the weekends. You played so damn hard.
Appreciate that, Ty.
All right. Well, guys, I think we're.
No, you ain't going to end it on that.
Oh, yeah, we got to.
Always end it.
We're out of time, Scott.
No, okay. All right. Coach Ingles.
Can I answer?
No.
Oh, I was just going to say fortunate.
Okay. Go ahead, Shaun.
Coach Ingles. Just a deep love. Love my coach. He made such an impact on me, my life, and just the lessons and the things that he taught, I'll never forget. I feel like if I ever had to pick up the phone and it doesn't matter where he's at, whether he's at Capitol or over across the world, he'll pick up the phone. He's a guy that I could walk right in the office, just like Coach Manahan. His office door is open, and I commuted to school a lot of the time, and I'd have a lot of time off, and I spend a lot of time in the office and just kicking it with him, and just memorable times right there, and just loved it. Fody being there, and I got to know Fody a lot, and Bricker, and it was just a good time with the coaches. But Coach Ingles, I to this day, man, I just really feel blessed that I got that chance to meet you, and just thankful that our home games for the Delaware Cows were at Ohio Wesleyan University, and how my path steered me to this institution, and with such great people. And like I mentioned, Jay Martin, and his class, and the way he would run that class and preach to us. The best class I ever took. And he just, because he would go off script and teach us about life. And a lot of Coach Ingles' lessons were about life as well. And, I love my time at OWU. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, it's I would say just changed my life. When I think of you, Coach, for all the opportunities you provided for me, for allowing me to play for you, and the experience that we had as players for you, just the talent you assembled, the wins, the memories, the opportunities for summer baseball were amazing. Memories I'll never forget. And then, the opportunity that you allowed me to come back to OWU and do what I love. And I owe you so much. So thank you for everything.
And I say the same thing every week. Father figure, as I mentioned before, grew up in a divorced home, and Coach Ingles pretty much was the father figure to me. And to share a short story, I got elected into the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame, and he was my baseball coach, and he was there. He was at the front table with Coach Dewey and some other people, and it was a basketball celebration, and still coach was still there sitting at the table, congratulating me and still being there. And that just proved that it went further than baseball. It went further than Ohio Wesleyan. It went further than everything else in life, that, you know, he cared about his players. He cared about the community of Delaware. He cared about Ohio Wesleyan, but he really cared about me. And I'm not being selfish. I'm just saying that because he was there for the induction, and he didn't have to be there. I mean, he had nothing to do with my basketball career. Well, he did, but so that's how I share it. So.
Well, guys, I feel fortunate that I've been able to coach guys like you, all those other guys that'll tune in and watch this show. And I mean, you know, the guys who were part of the program for 1 year, the guys who were part of the program for 4 years, everybody touched everybody's lives. It's like Shaun was talking about earlier. It was a brotherhood that doesn't get broke. And, you know, we talked about a lot of things tonight. And what always strikes me is I don't think we ever brought a score up once. We always talked about the experiences, you know, the fact that, you know, we had success, but we don't remember if it was 2-1 or 7-5 or what the scores were. You guys remember the how other people made you feel. Those are things you know, you kind of remember. So
Shout out to all my teammates out there. Love every one of you.
Go
Good
Bishop.
seeing you, Shaun.
All right. Good luck, man. We'll catch
Thanks,
up.
buddy. All right, we'll
Scott.
do.
Nice
See
seeing
ya.
you, bud.